What is going on, everyone? And in this video, I'll be giving you my UFC Fight Night Vera versus Sandhagen main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place this Saturday, March 25th, 2023. Taking place in San Antonio, Texas, USA. In the main event of the evening, we have Marlon Vera taking on Cory Sandhagen. Really looking forward to that bantamweight bout. I'm excited to see where the division goes after this. And then obviously co-main event, Holm taking on Yana Santos. And the rest of the card is we'll see how it plays out. I think it's an overall, like, it's not a UFC Apex card, obviously. It's a little bit better than that. But having a crowd again, all that stuff, I think it's pretty good. So really looking forward to the main event more than anything. But there are some solid fights. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. In the first fight on the main card, we have Chidi and Njokuani taking on Albert Duraev. 22-8 for Njokuani, 15-4 for Albert Duraev. And so this is a pretty interesting matchup because you have one guy in Chidi and Njokuani who is looking like a straight up killer. Like, he came in here, yeah, like straight up killer vibes, like just knocking people out, sleeping them. He was in Bellator before, so he's definitely like a veteran. He's not some guy who just hopped out of nowhere. 22-8, obviously, with a 1-0 contest. But first fight in the UFC, took out Souza. Oh, I guess it was technically Dana White Contender Series. Got the KO TKO via elbows around number 3. Took out Andre Barriault in his first fight in the UFC pretty quickly. KO TKO punches. Took out Dusko Todorovic. Elbow KO TKO round number 1. But then he ran into a problem. he ran into a robot, right? So he takes on Gregory Rodriguez. And I mean, in theory, I guess if he was fighting someone else, he probably would have killed him. But the thing with this one is Rodriguez was able to eat the hardest knee possible you could land on someone right to the dome and kept coming, had his fucking head split open by the end of the whole thing. And basically just ate all the damage and then was able to take him down and finish him via ground and pound. But I mean, like I just suggested, I think Njokuani probably would have literally killed whoever he lands that knee on. But I guess the other thing here that he probably got awakened to in this one was, I need to be a little bit more aware of not getting too crazy with it, not coming out aggressive, dumping out his entire arsenal and then being essentially gassed out, because you're not always going to be able to one-shot these guys, right? I mean, he was literally fighting the one guy who's going to eat all your shots and keep coming forward, hence his name, RoboCop. Do I think that happens in this fight against someone like Albert Duraev, who in his last fight lost via KO TKO doctor stoppage in round number 2 because his eye was essentially shut and it was just looking horrible, severe swelling against Joaquin Buckley? I mean, in my opinion, he was losing that fight. Obviously, I think Buckley was able to, he dropped him twice. Duraev was going for those takedowns, and that's the only concern here. But I don't think Duraev is going to be able to eat some of these shots that RoboCop was able to eat in Njokuani's previous fight. So I'm not really concerned. My only concern here would be if Njokuani gets too tired or whatever, and then Duraev is just able to consistently take him down, and Njokuani doesn't really have anything for him. That would be my only concern here. But coming off of his fight where, I mean, he was essentially winning Njokuani, but he just wasn't able to put him away. I feel like the shots that he was landing on Rodriguez, Duraev is just not going to be able to eat, and he will get dropped. Now, like I said, it's just a matter of Njokuani not gassing himself out, running in like a crazy person. Because I mean, Njokuani, he has some nasty sniper shots, and it's just very dangerous. With Duraev, I guess he could maybe go in for these takedowns, get him, threaten with the submission consistently, and then that could cause some problems, or like I said, just the grappling in general. So I think Njokuani is going to probably want to get him out of there fairly quickly. He's going to need to get him out there fairly quickly because I think if this goes to a decision, Njokuani is probably not the one winning the fight. I think Duraev is able to push him against the fence, take him down, possibly work some submission attempts in there, and then just kind of grind him out. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is one of those fights where if you go, oh man, Njokuani, once he he lost that fight against Rodriguez, whatever, he kind of just gave up. But then you see him come out here and then he's he's like more. He's still a killer, like super aggressive, but then like when he hurts him, he's not gonna just dive in and just start swinging crazy, and run the risk of like just dumping everything he has so early. I feel like he could hurt Duraev, kind of back off, reset and try to snipe him until he's able to get him. And I just don't see Duraev being able to hang with him on the feet. But like I said, if Duraev wins, it's probably going to be via a grindy decision, possibly submission. But Njokuani is going to really have to basically gas out and miss a bunch of shots and get taken down and have no answer. So I'm gonna look for this one. Njokuani, I think he's gonna get it back here. I think he's gonna do it pretty violently too. I think he's gonna get in there, super aggressive and try to take his head off. So I'm going to go Chidi and Njokuani to defeat Albert Duraev. I'll take him to win by round 1 KO TKO. In the second fight on the main card, we have Alex Perez, 24-7, taking on Manel Kape, 18-6 in a flyweight bout. This is a pretty interesting matchup. Kape obviously being the one on the up and coming, trying to become a contender, basically beating I guess previously top contender in Alex Perez. Recently lost to Alexander Pantoja and then Davison Figueiredo. In his last fight against Pantoja, he was submitted, pretty much got into a wild exchange early on, really wasn't able to do anything there, and then Pantoja took his back, hit him with a neck crank, put him down. When he took on the champion, Figueiredo, he actually landed some fairly decent leg kicks, but then again, something similar, he was able to get submitted. And Perez probably would be the one in this fight against Kape going in for the takedowns. And some pretty solid leg kicks. It's just that, against top level guys, he's getting caught with like a submission. Now, I don't know if Kape's going to be able to submit him. Kape in his last fight, he threw up it was the Chimera on Dovrak in that fight. He didn't get the submission, but he was able to, he threatened pretty badly with that one. And I believe it was like off of him being taken down. So yeah, I mean, I could see Perez getting Kape down, or at least attempting to get him down. The issue here though, I think, is on the feet. I think Kape is going to be the harder hitter. He's definitely going to be the one. And if you've seen his journey, I think he's been battling some injuries. That's why he didn't fight after he won the Zumagulov fight. He didn't fight until the next year in December. But I would say he looked really good, man. He definitely has a little bit of cockiness to him. He's going to try to taunt his opponent a little bit, but I think he can back it up. I think he has really good power. Not a guy you want to be getting hit by. And then he can also defensively defend himself on the floor if Perez tries to go for submissions or anything like that. And then he's going to probably toy with him on the feet. But overall, I just feel like Perez might be one of these. It might be one of these fights where Perez actually comes out. He's landing some pretty solid leg kicks. He might even get a takedown. Maybe Kape gets back up, whatever. Perez is looking, pretty active and he's looking great. And then he just gets caught with something, right? Whether it's he's going in for a takedown, Kape pulls off a submission, or we see Perez get countered off one of his leg kicks, or I feel like he's just gonna make a mistake. Whether it be early on, I mean, I still think this could be a really competitive fight. I think just because Perez lost to Pantoja and then lost to Figueiredo, that doesn't necessarily mean he's trash, in my opinion. Like, I guess this might show, like, if he gets absolutely crushed in this one, maybe he's obviously on the decline. But I still think Perez, he did take out Jussier Formiga, Jordan Espinosa, Mark De La Rosa, lost to Joseph Benavidez. I mean, he's kind of, he's won his fights, and then when he's fought the top level guy, he loses. So he could be like a gatekeeper kind of guy at this point. And I don't really want to take anything away from Perez, but I do think Kape, and at the same time, like, Kape might make a mistake because he's taunting or something like that, and then he gets himself in trouble. Maybe he gets caught with something, right? He gets head kicked. But I think overall, unless Kape really has no answer for the grappling, I guess, because I do think Perez is going to come out and try to grapple, or at least I think he'll be the aggressor. It's just Kape is going to look to counter him, and I feel like if Kape is able to land some of the shots that we've seen him land, I mean, I think it's going to be pretty much over for him. Now, like I said, I don't know if this happens the first round, second round, third round. But I'm going to actually give some respect to Alex Perez in this one. I don't like to disrespect some of these guys like that and say, like, he's going to get absolutely destroyed in the first round. So for me, I'm going to go with Manel Kape. I'm going to take him to defeat Alex Perez. I'll take him to win by a decision. In the third fight on the main card, we have Andrea Lee, 13-6, taking on Maycee Barber, 11-2, in a women's flyweight bout. I think this is going to be a pretty close fight. It's one of those split decision kind of fights. I think Lee's probably going to hit harder. Barber might throw the more variety of strikes, whereas Lee is like strictly Muay Thai. She'll definitely get in there, start swinging. The grappling, honestly, I feel like it could go either way. I honestly maybe think Lee might be trying to go for the takedowns a little bit more, at least the control against the fence. Even in her last fight, though, against Viviani, which she lost via unanimous decision, I mean, early on, she did drop her pretty badly. So she definitely has some pretty good striking power. And if she gets in close against Barber, I mean, I definitely think she's going to be able to test that. Coming off that win before that against Cynthia Calvillo, KO round number 2, you know, Calvillo didn't get off the stool. Beat Antonina Shevchenko, submission arm triangle. She can obviously land a submission. And even in the fight against Modafferi and Lauren Murphy, she did outstrike her opponents in that fight. So I definitely think she can put up some decent strikes. She's always going to be throwing something, right? She's always going to be able to hang there, and she's not sitting back throwing 1 or 2 strikes, where I feel like Barber might try to get Lee to come at her and then counter. I feel like Barber will definitely be the one that's sitting back, not the aggressor, but then she's going to try to counter with something, whether it be even just going in for a takedown, landing her own shots. But I feel like Lee is just going to have the better power here. So I think it's a very close fight. I can see Barber controlling the fight. Maybe Barber's just landing more volume. Maybe Lee is getting countered a lot. But then it could go the other way too, where Lee's being more aggressive. She's landing the harder shots. The judges, you know, maybe the takedowns the control is equal, and then the judges lean one way or the other. So yeah, I think it's a lot closer fight than just saying flat out Barber's going to run through or something. And with that, I mean, anytime you got a fight like this, especially in the women's MMA where it's so close, very competitive, you honestly can lean either way, and you know, I honestly don't think anyone's going to get upset about it. So with that, my pick is going to be Andrea Lee. I'm going to take her to defeat Maycee Barber. I'll take her to win by a decision. In the fourth fight on the main card, we have Nate Landwehr taking on Austin Lingo. I think this is going to be a pretty entertaining fight. Both guys are probably going to go out there, really throw down, and it's just going to be a matter of like who's left standing. Landwehr is coming off a win over David Onama by majority decision. He landed 91 significant strikes as opposed to Onama's 71. Onama did get a knockdown in that fight, but Landwehr landed 3 takedowns. And that could be the story of this fight as well. It's just whether or not Austin Lingo is going to be able to defend the takedowns or if he's going to get taken down, because Landwehr probably will go for the takedowns. And like I said, man, both guys are going to eat shots, and it's pretty, I think it's going to be like who dies first kind of thing. I mean, in Austin Lingo's first fight against Yusuf Zalal, he lost that fight via unanimous decision, got taken down 6 times. So that's a little bit concerning. But then the next 2 fights, I felt like, you know, he got 2 knockdowns, one in each of those fights, and he definitely stayed in there. You know, he's gonna throw down and try to go for it. Nate Landwehr, my thing though is I feel like he can look to the grappling maybe when things get a little bit crazy, if he decides to do that. And you know, if not, then it is what it is. He can also threaten with a submission probably on the floor. And Landwehr, you know, he'll be game to just come forward, throw down. I mean, significant strikes landed per minute is at 6.37. That's pretty decent. He does absorb 5.56 significant strikes, but like I said, I think the takedown, I mean, honestly, yeah, I think the takedowns might be the difference in this fight when things get a little bit crazy. But then again, maybe early on, Landwehr's not going to be able to get any of those takedowns, and Lingo's going to be coming forward, pressing forward, trying to take his head off. But either way, I feel like Nate Landwehr is going to be able to sneak one out with that grappling. And if it does get crazy on the feet, he'll be able to look to that, maybe even pull off a submission on the floor. So what do I think he's gonna? Yeah, I mean, let's go with it. Let's see what he can do here. My prediction for this fight is going to be Nate Landwehr. I'm going to take him to defeat Austin Lingo. I'll take him to win by submission in round number 2. In the co-main event in the evening, we have Holm 14-6 taking on Yana Santos 14-6 in a women's bantamweight bout. So obviously Holm coming in here, veteran in this division, in the game, in women's MMA. Coming off of pretty close split decision loss against Landwehr Vera. She actually landed more significant strikes, but she did get taken down in that fight. And I would say her takedown defense is pretty solid, 78% takedown defense in all of her fights. Definitely more of a boxer, kickboxing kind of style. Hit him with a side kick. Definitely a point fighter. I know she obviously has, the win over Bechko Holm and all that, but she's not, I wouldn't say she's like out here knocking people out. I feel like she still wants the point fight. She wants to put up the volume. She wants to outland people, and she's pretty content with like point fighting like that. And she can even, when she needs to, although I don't think she's going to do it every fight, it's more of like a defensive kind of thing. She can look for those takedowns. Landed 5 takedowns against Irene Aldana. Badly, significantly outstriked her 154 to her 69. She took on Raquel Pennington, was able to get the unanimous decision in that fight. Before that, she got taken out by Amanda Nunes. That's an interesting fight to get taken out by Amanda Nunes. And again, it's like one of those things, when she fought Cyborg, she lost. Amanda Nunes, she lost. Ketlin Vieira's up and coming, but she lost that fight. And then Ketlin Vieira loses to Raquel Pennington, so it's it's like a freaking cycle of like everyone beat you, lose to you, and then come back and just constantly going about it. But I think we know what we're gonna get from Holm. Now, what are we gonna get from Yana Santos? She's coming off of a loss against Irene Aldana via KO TKO, and a lot of people like to do the MMA math kind of thing. Now, whether it's justified or not, I mean, I do think Holm's going to have the better striking than Yana Santos, in my opinion. The only thing is maybe Santos tries to grapple with Holm a little bit more. But like I said, Holm, I think, can handle her own, at least defensively. I'm not saying Holm's going to be diving in for takedowns. But Santos, a little bit lower volume as well, even in the fights where she's winning by decision. So that's something too where I still think even on the feet, Holm's gonna just have the more variety to her strikes and just be able to outpace her. She's been in the main event before. This is not a main event, but like she's been in the she's fought like the top level people. She's gotten taken out. She's still fighting the younger up and coming girls as well. So I feel like she's just gonna be able to handle herself in this fight. And for Santos, not having a lot of volume, I mean, she's gonna have to land heavier shots. She's gonna have to close the distance. She's gonna have to press her against the fence, slow her down. Not give her distance. Santos is gonna being the one chasing her, whereas Holm's gonna be able to counter off that. And I just, I'm just not seeing it play out. Unless Santos is able to take her down or something and get a submission victory somehow, or something of that matter. But even Santos has not, in the UFC, has only won by decision, and then all of her losses are actually by KO TKO. So I mean, that is a little bit concerning because Holm's going to definitely throw some pretty really strong side kicks. Her boxing is going to be clean. Obviously going for the head kicks, a lot of kicks as well. And so she can be very dangerous. So that's a little bit concerning. But that's why I think Santos is going to try to slow the fight down. She hasn't fought since July 10th. So we also don't know what kind of improvements, but you could argue the other way as well with Holm. Hasn't fought since May 21st of 2022. It's almost a year for her. I think we're going to see, like, obviously who's going to be maybe in that gatekeeper kind of thing, especially if Holm wins because she fights the next level and gets kind of taken out. But she's not losing bad, like I said. She's not losing bad. She outstruck Irene Aldana, who finished Santos. She outstruck. Well, she didn't actually outstrike, but she won that unanimous decision against Raquel Pennington. Obviously lost against Nunes, but yeah, I don't think Holm loses here. And if she does, I mean, it's just because she's just not looking the same anymore. I think, but based on what we've seen, even in the last fight, I think Holm's going to be super competitive in this one. And, unless Santos has changed like drastically, I just don't see her pulling off like a dominant decision here. So with that, my pick for this fight is going to be Holly Holm. I'm going to take her to defeat Yana Santos. I'll take her to win by a decision. In the main event of the evening, we have Marlon Vera, 27-1, taking on Cory Sandhagen, 15-4 in a bantamweight bout. So this is going to be a super competitive fight. Really looking forward to it. We got one, it's that bantamweight. It's probably one of the most competitive divisions in all of MMA, right? And especially inside the UFC. So for Marlon Vera, he's coming off a very dominant performance against Dominic Cruz. Dropped him 3 times, took him out, head kicked him into the Shadow Realm. Unironically, though, Cruz landed more significant strikes in that fight and actually landed 2 takedowns. But when it mattered, Vera was just able to just land the harder shots, the more dangerous strikes. Cruz just wasn't... I mean, I even think if Cruz would have hit like 100 significant strikes, it was just a matter of time before Vera was going to be able to land something, right? It just really was. Before that, he put on one hell of a performance against Rob Font. Again, he got outstruck in that fight, 271 significant strikes for Rob Font, as opposed to Marlon Vera's 159. But obviously, 3 knockdowns, and just almost finished him, basically. Almost took him out. Rob Font even landed 1 takedown. But the thing is with Vera is, yeah, he might get outstruck, but like he's landing the significant strikes. Like he's going to hurt you bad. Good leg kicks. Obviously, the striking is improving, and I think his cardio. I mean, even in the fight against Rob Font, I mean that shit was crazy, man. Like this dude looks so fresh in the latter rounds, and just faster. Just harder hitting. But he just keeps looking super dangerous. And then obviously, like even in his last fight, in the past 2 fights, used to the 5 rounds. So I'm not really worried about it. Against Frankie Edgar, sent him to the Shadow Realm. Davey Grant, that was a pretty tough fight, but still pretty dominant. He did lose a very close fight to Aldo, which honestly, I mean back then, 2020. I mean, if they fought again, who knows if Vera would have won and probably would have won more dominantly. So that's not really a bad win there. Against Sean O'Malley, he was able to get that KO TKO. Lost to Sung Yong-dong via unanimous decision. Got outstruck in that fight. He even landed 2 takedowns though, so that's interesting. But then you have Sung Yong-dong, who just got KO TKO'd by Cory Sandhagen. The only thing though is that was like a Sung Yong-dong in 2020, right? I think obviously he's gotten better. But Marlon Vera, like people forget, I think that he fought Sung Yong-dong and Sean O'Malley, Aldo. I think people only think of like the big KOs or whatever, but he's definitely fought top level guys as well. Cory Sandhagen is coming off the win over Sung Yong-dong. In another fight where Yadong was, I mean, early on, I guess he was keeping it super, he was keeping it competitive. He did land 2 takedowns, had some pretty good shots in there, but Sandhagen was basically able to keep picking him apart and eventually landed the KO TKO finish or whatever. But he was kind of just picking him apart. And that's kind of the guy Sandhagen is, right? Whether it's elbows, the knees, we saw him send Frankie Edgar to the Shadow Realm with a flying knee. Just the flashiness, the quick responsiveness to be able to just come out of nowhere with some of these strikes. But at the same time, like he will keep that volume up. When he took on Peter Yan, Sandhagen landed 169 significant strikes to Peter Yan's 149. Yan landed 1 knockdown. Sandhagen actually got 1 takedown of all things. But that fight was super competitive. I mean, he did lose unanimous decision, but like I said, man, I mean these fights are super competitive. He lost against TJ Dillashaw. I mean that's an arguable split decision. Obviously, one of the judges thought he won the fight. I think it maybe depends on like how maybe Dillashaw's control with the takedown. Like that's one of those fights that if they fight again, it could go to Sandhagen, right? Before that, took out Frankie Edgar. And when you look at what happened to TJ Dillashaw too, it's kind of like, I mean that was like prime TJ Dillashaw, like after the steroids, but he was still like, that was a really tough fight for Sandhagen. But I feel like Dillashaw was actually on point in that fight, and so we actually fought like a top level dude, not the guy that obviously Sterling fought with like his injury or whatever. So tough fight, lost, but honestly he probably could have won it. Marlon Moraes, Shadow Realm type stuff. He fought Aljamain Sterling, lost that fight fairly early on via submission. And then he has a variety of other wins as well. But his last fight, I think it just shows that he's like very dangerous, and Sandhagen will put up that damage, right? So if you let him keep coming and putting up that volume, he's going to keep trying to chip away at you. He's going to try to, he has no problem striking with you. He has no problem getting in front of Vera probably. And that's what makes this fight super exciting. The only issue though is I feel like this Marlon Vera, the one that, especially the one that took out Rob Font, I could see Sandhagen outstriking him, but Vera's going to land hard shots, man. And I feel like Vera can even mix in some grappling if he needs to. But I just, I just feel like, Sandhagen's gonna have to be the one chasing him. And when Vera lands, I mean, I think it's going to hurt a lot, and it's just a matter of whether or not, can Sandhagen stay on Vera, take him out, and constantly make Vera miss, and then, spinning elbow to the body, kicks, this. Like, I just feel like Sandhagen's going to have to do so much, whereas Vera, he might not put up the number that Sandhagen lands, but to the judges, he's going to be landing the harder shots, right? He's going to be maybe mixing in a takedown here and there. Maybe kicks the shit out of Sandhagen's legs, right? And then when you see that, yeah, maybe he did get outstruck, but he landed the more damage, and then it's just dependent on what a judge is going to see. But, I mean, it's just hard to pick against a guy like Marlon Vera. And I don't really take his last fight against Cruz because, some people will say, like, well, you got to beat Cruz. Sandhagen would have beat Cruz. Okay, I mean, I could give you that. But the fight against Rob Font, I think, just showed that, like, this dude is really, he's kind of on another level. He's an all-around mixed martial artist. He can definitely hang in there with the volume. He's got KO power, nasty kicks. He can defend some takedowns. Maybe he even goes for his own takedowns like he did against Davey Grant. Like, he's getting pretty dominant. And Sandhagen, albeit super competitive, he's got to do a lot more, in my opinion. Like, he's really going to have to... He can't just hope for the flying knee. Like, he's really got to go in there and, like, put it on Vera, shut him down, defend any takedowns, maybe even get his own takedown. Like, so, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It might be competitive until, like, Vera just is able to land a shot that Sandhagen's just not able to get out of. Now, I would be surprised, though, still, if Cory Sandhagen gets finished here. I think that's kind of disrespectful. I think this is a close fight. Like I said, until one of these guys starts pulling away. But I think Vera's, Vera, if he fights how he's been fighting, even going for the kicks and stuff like that, just how devastating he was against Cruz. Like, I think Vera can hurt Sandhagen even. And maybe, but Sandhagen will pop back up, but I think he might get a couple drops in there. Vera has to be careful, though, because, like I said, Sandhagen could come out here vicious, get in his face, just try to take his head off, go for his own takedowns or whatnot. But then at the same time, Vera's going to be a lot to deal with. And Vera can throw his own spinning back kicks or spinning back fist, spinning elbow. Like, he can go for that shit too. So we'll have to see. This is going to be a really entertaining fight. And I think it's going to be a close fight. Like I said, I don't know if anyone gets finished here, but my prediction for this fight is going to be Marlon Vera. I'm going to take him to defeat Cory Sandhagen. I'll take him to win by a decision. And that'll do it, guys, for my UFC San Antonio main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place this Saturday, March 25th, 2023, out of San Antonio, Texas, USA. Looking forward to the main card. Leave your comments down below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.